This That No Nonsense. I'm coming to you with another video talking about which team is the biggest threat to Giannis and the Bucks in the East. This team, the Giannis and the Bucks, they are becoming my favorites to win the championship. I still have the Clippers. The Clippers are coming across some red flags, such as their chemistry and their continuity, and that can put them out of the playoffs. They got to get their act together. They signed a wild card in Reggie Jackson. Let's see if they'll work out for them. But this team really, in my opinion, should have went to the finals last year, but it came down to Giannis. Middleton and Bledsoe didn't step up enough. Some coaching issues. But we're going to hear what they're going to have to say. But I will say this. I never picked Philadelphia. They picked Philadelphia. I never picked Philadelphia because I knew that, for one, they don't have enough shooting. But two, I didn't think Joel Embiid was going to be conditioned enough to go at Milwaukee. Milwaukee is a very physical team. You have to be physical with Milwaukee, right? You cannot be finesse with this team. You have to be real physical with Milwaukee and force everybody else to step up and phase Giannis out. That's how they were beat by the Toronto Raptors. You have to have great defending big men. Toronto had a historical defense, and they had great defending big men, right? And to be honest with you, the team, ironically for the Philadelphia 76ers, which I say ironic because I never chose them, they are the team that's the biggest threat to Bucks, right? Because Joel Embiid can't get physical, and Philadelphia is more talented. But I just don't think they're going to win. Milwaukee is going to execute better. Their coach is a lot better. Milwaukee is a better shooting team, and Milwaukee is a better defensive team in my opinion. One of Milwaukee's red flags is their three-point defense, right? And another one of their red flags is, can Middleton or Eric Bledsoe step up when it matters most in the playoffs? Obviously, you got Boston, who still lacks a big man, but they execute very well. And you can't mess around with Boston. They used to call them the Spurs of the East. This due to them executing very well, and Boston is a team that you have to kill. You can't play around with Boston. Obviously, you have the Toronto Raptors, who execute very well. They are a great cohesion team. They have great cohesion. They got great defense. They got a great coach. And in my opinion, I think Nick Nurse should be coach of the year, right? Because everybody expected the Milwaukee to fall off, at least go around 7 or 8 seed. But there are phasing around the 2 and 3 seed. Then you have Miami. But I think it's just Bucks to lose. I think they're far better than everybody else. And let's see what they got to say about it.
Who's the biggest threat to the Bucks in the East?
I actually think, and I know it's not in style now to say it, it's the Celtics. I think the Celtics are, and I'll tell you why. Number one, the Sixers are down Ben Simmons. I think the Sixers are
It could be the Celtics, right? Because one of Bucks, surprisingly, they don't rank that high in three-point shooting defense, and that is surprising to me. And the Celtics shoot well, and the Celtics do defend the three-point line well, but they don't really have a big man to stop Giannis. That's just my thing. They don't have a big man. However, the Celtics execute very well, and they run great game plans. They call them the Spurs of the East for a reason, or they used to. But I think they still got some of that in them. If they can pose a game plan where they can win the game, and they're going to force Bucks to adjust. And if Bucks don't adjust, then they make them pull it off.
the worst matchup for the Bucks actually at full strength. But we don't know anything. Like they're saying he's out indefinitely. They'll reevaluate in 2 weeks. We have no idea what's going on with Ben Simmons. So I have to table them right now. I know the Raptors been doing great. They're down Kawhi permanently. He's gone. So you look at the Heat, Stephen A., there are reasons to like them. You've been talking a lot about them. But
obviously the Raptors got a lot of confidence. But they had seasons like this before. And it came to the playoffs, and it fell on the shoulders of DeMar DeRozan and Mr. Kyle Lowry. Right? And usually Kyle Lowry or DeMar DeRozan will either get injured or they will choke. So once again, when the playoffs is going to come down to their star players, rather Siakam, Kyle Lowry, right, Fred VanVleet, or whoever, right? They got some kid. I was watching this brother while I was watching the game against the Bucks and the Raptors named Davis. Little kid with energy, right? Or a little guy with energy. But once again, with the Raptors, it's going to come down to the star players. They need somebody that can get them a bucket, right? If Siakam can grow into that person, then the Raptors are going to go far. They're pretty much a star away, like they always was. They had a complete team. They were just a star away, right? But if they don't have a guy that can get them buckets, then they're going to fall short.
When I look at every other team in the East, and maybe I'm too old school this way, I ask myself, who has the player where the best player on that team is capable of being your primary scoring option, at least, on a finals team? And I think that's the Celtics. I think Jayson Tatum is a special and different kind of talent. Talent plus the polished game already. And he's starting to really come in.
Jayson Tatum impressed me his rookie year, and he disappointed me his second year. I used to talk about players that when you try to copy a player, whether it's Kobe or a lot of guys try to copy Stephen Curry, they copy them very one-dimensional like, right? They try to copy their fruits, and Steph was talking about this. He said they try to copy the fruit, but not the labor, not the hard work. So it's great to see that Tatum was able to look at how Kobe played his game, right? Just look at how their bodies compared. Kobe weighed a lot more. Kobe, I believe, was a lot more athletic, a lot more explosive. Tatum is a lot more smooth, right? But Tatum is able to take the things that he believed that he can do well and also play his game at the same time, right? And he's getting a lot older, which allowed him to play even better this year, right? Instead of just trying to be Kobe 2.0. Like, hey, I'm going to just take this shot simply because Kobe would take the shot. And since Kobe took the shot, then nobody can say anything about it, you know. Or, hey, let me take this three. And since Steph take this three, then I'm going to take this three, and nobody can say anything about it, right? So it's great that he's able to look at the way Kobe played, look at how he played in a more dimensional level. Take the great things, work hard, look at the detail, and still play your game, right? So he's improved. He's improved on this isolation, right? He's able to take over the games at times, and they're going to need somebody like him. Obviously, Mr. Kemba Walker is going to have to step up. Like I've always said about people like Walker, Devin Booker, usually these stars that are trapped on horrible teams. You know, they're underrated. We say that they're good, but that's the thing is that, you know, we usually look at the stats. They're normally on teams that they have to take up the most shots, but we're able to see how they really play once they get on the good team. And my eyes are going to be on Kemba Walker, just like my eyes is going to be on Devin Booker when whether he's traded or Phoenix Suns become good, because you're going to get to see what his weakness truly is, because the spotlight is going to be on him. So that my eye is going to be on Kemba Walker. If Kemba Walker could step up and if Jayson Tatum could step up, then they can make up their lack of big man. I still think that they should have kept Al Horford. Al Horford should have stayed on this team, right? That's just my belief, because they would have been a contender. To be honest with you, I would have had them and Boston Celtics equal to me, because Boston Celtics, in my opinion, can execute a lot better. They're a lot more diverse. Milwaukee has a great superstar in Giannis. But, you know, like I said, they're like a deck of cards. If you pull one, the whole thing collapses, right? So we're going to see. If Milwaukee can adjust, then, you know, it don't really matter anyway. But if they struggle, right, it's going to be up to Middleton and Bledsoe to step up anyway, right? But Boston has the best coach, in my opinion, him and Nick Nurse. But I'm going to give the edge to Boston. Boston has the best coach in the whole Eastern Conference. So we're going to see.
Into his own. I think his development was hampered by Kyrie last year, actually, who's really ball dominant, and there were locker.
Well, I used to talk about Kyrie a lot. I call Kyrie a fortunate Carmelo Anthony. He was fortunate to have LeBron come over to Cleveland, right? So he understood what winning is, and he understood what losing is. Carmelo Anthony played on a bad team, and he never truly knew how to win. He only knew how to put up his stats, right? However, both Carmelo and Kyrie's game doesn't allow the other teams to shine. So when you tell them that they have to play better, in their minds, they believe that they have to ISO more, right? They don't know the balance between sharing the ball, making the team better, and also scoring. Like you see Kyrie struggle with this balance, similar to how KD did when he was on Oklahoma City. You told KD he shoot too much, he'll pass too much. You told KD he'll pass too much, he'll shoot too much. So part of him got better going to Golden State because he understood a balance between passing, right, and shooting. That's something that Kyrie Irving has not understand, right? And Carmelo isn't willing to understand that. This is why I said Carmelo will only do well with a floor general beside him, rather it was a Jason Kidd or a Chauncey Billups. Same with Kyrie Irving. But Kyrie Irving's a lot younger. Let's see what he will let's see can he understand that. And hopefully Kevin Durant is able to teach him a bit more of that balance.
Room issues. And I understand what Stephen A. you talked about, Gordon Hayward and the coach and all that stuff, but Hayward is healthy. Jaylen Brown is balling. You have Jayson Tatum, who I just mentioned, who's putting back-to-back 35-plus point games now. And if you look at the Celtics, they're not deep, and that's an issue. There's no doubt about it. But when they're fully healthy, they almost never lose. And we can't, that can't just be ignored. When firing on all cylinders, they're just about as good as any team in basketball. And for me, it comes down to when you have a squad, who's your best player? Can I see him being the best player on a finals team? Yes, I can. Jayson Tatum, yes, I can.
I don't believe it.
I don't either. But Jayson Tatum could prove me wrong. He has improved drastically, right? He plays like he can possibly be a second option. But the way he playing now, he can possibly be a first option. That's what the NBA is about, right? You never know. That's why you like the NBA. You may think things, you may be right or you may be wrong. And Mr. Jayson Tatum is proving me wrong, right? I felt like they overhyped him last year, but it turns out that if he played this year how he played last year, then the hype would have been met.
I believe in Jayson Tatum. I believe that Jayson Tatum is big time, that he's a superstar in the making. He's a star now. And to think about the fact that the Lakers passed up on him to grab Lonzo Ball, passed up on De'Aaron Fox to get Lonzo Ball, that's a different subject for another day.
Well, don't blame the Lakers. Credit LaVar Ball for being probably one of the best marketers of all time and a con man.
I will tell you this. When I look at the Milwaukee Bucks, clearly the creme de la creme of the Eastern Conference this year. How do you beat them? I think the team that comes to my mind is the Miami Heat. When I look at the Miami Heat, clearly size is a factor, and I understand that. The thing is, the Miami Heat is the second-ranked three-point shooting team in the NBA. They beat Milwaukee in the one matchup that they had against them this year, albeit it was just the second game of the season, and it was even without Jimmy Butler. But when I watched the game last night against Toronto, you got Toronto miniature guys, Kyle Lowry, Van Vliet, and those guys, okay? It's difficult to shoot over these guys. They come out, they send taller guys out on the wing, and then if you drive into the teeth of their defense, they got a bunch of trees waiting for you.
See, Toronto doesn't really have a star, but they have a great amount of shooting, the right amount of slashers, and a great big man. It's hard to defend a team like that. When Kawhi went there, Kawhi allowed them to play, and also whenever the offense will freeze up and they need a star to shine, Kawhi was that star. That's why Kawhi worked well with them, right? But they got Kyle Lowry, they got Fred VanVleet. They run so many different plays. They got so many different people shooting, right? So when you guard that team, you're literally guarding the team. They will take advantage of your weakest matchup. They don't really just have one guy you can just focus on. That was one of the flaws with DeMar DeRozan. They knew that DeMar DeRozan was going to have the ball a lot, and DeMar DeRozan was a slow mid-range shooter. So it's going to be hard to defend Toronto. You got to be a disciplined team to defend Toronto. A very disciplined team to defend Toronto.
In Milwaukee. How do you offset that? By having bigger dudes who can shoot perimeter shots. And that is what Miami has. In Butler, in Duncan Robinson, in Tyler Hero. I know Kendrick Nunn is, he doesn't have that kind of size, but I like him a lot. Ben Adebayo, this brother is big time in the open court as well. They've got athletes, they've got thoroughbreds, they got guys that can play above the rim, they got guys that shoot from the damn parking lot. This is who Miami is, and I think that's the one ingredient that could ultimately humble the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't see size and physicality offsetting them, nor do I see a lack of depth offsetting them. You have to have depth with perimeter shooters in order to take them out. That's why I say Miami.
Let's go through all the matchups.
But Miami is as much of a wild card to me as the Dallas Mavericks when the Dallas Mavericks are healthy. Obviously, Miami got better defense and they got great three-point shooting. But I don't think they have enough to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. And they also got to work on their fourth quarter woes, right?
So I don't believe in Philly because I don't think Joel Embiid as a leader is maturity-wise where he needs to be.
To be honest with you, they got the best chance. But like he said, I don't believe in them.
To lead
In my opinion, they have the best chance, right?
men. I think talent-wise, incredible. One of the best in the league.
Yeah.
Maturity-wise, I don't know. Not there. So I take the Sixers out of the equation. The Raptors, Pascal Siakam, their team's best player. What does Milwaukee have? A lot of tall, long, athletic wings that can defend Pascal Siakam. You saw that last night. Let's go through with the Miami Heat. I like your argument to some degree, but I worry about who's going to be the guy that can create for the Miami Heat, because their guards for the Bucks are bigger and they stay at home. They funnel you towards their bigs, right? They stay at home, so they won't get those wide open three-point shots because those guards are going to stay at home. Who has the best firepower in the Eastern Conference, Stephen A? It's the Celtics. Who's the best player on the Heat?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure about that.
Who's the best player in the Heat? Jimmy Butler? Let's go through it. Best player in the Heat, Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Who's the best player on the Celtics?
Well, it's Tatum.
Okay. Who's the second best player in the Miami Heat?
Bam Adebayo.
Who's the second best player in the Celtics?
Adebayo, you could say Adebayo.
Okay, who's the second
Kemba
best
Walker.
player? Kemba.
Kemba
Who's the
Walker.
third best player in the Celtics?
Yeah, but you're not. But
I'm just waiting, Stephen A. Let me finish my point.
That's actually pretty a valid point, because this is how I used to make my arguments back then. Obviously, now I add a bit more detail. I call it the first, second, third option rule. I remember I used to do this back then. I used to be like, compare your first option to his first option, your second option to his second option, right? And your third option to his third option. I used to do that, right? I used to say that if the other team has a better first option or second option, it doesn't matter that if your team is deeper, then that team is going to at least beat you or compete with you, right? You look at the Portland Trail Blazers. They had a way deeper team than the Golden State Warriors, but Steph and Clay was better than CJ and Dame, right? For you, if you have a deep team, then their first option could be better, but your second option has to be better than their second option. If they got two options that's better than your two options, then they're going to compete with you and they can beat you. That's how I used to make my arguments when I called it the first, second, third option rule.
go ahead.
I'm just going through the list of the
But I'm talking
firepower.
depth.
I hear you, but the firepower, because the versatility.
Even with the whole Cleveland situation, right? With the Toronto Raptors, LeBron was a lot better than DeMar DeRozan, right? And Kyle Lowry was inconsistent. So whoever Cleveland's second option was, rather it was I believe Jeff Green. He had that team of nobodies. What was it? Jeff Green, Jordan Clarkson, whoever would step up. I believe Kyle Lowry had one good game. I believe that was game 3. So, looking at that series. But Cleveland's options, Kevin Love, Cleveland's options was better than Toronto's options, despite Toronto having a way better team. Overall team, deeper team. And Toronto was swept. So the option rule does matter, right?
Of the position.
In my opinion.
Positions. They have guards that all can get it off the dribble and can beat and negate the size that Milwaukee has, because they can finish at the rim and it can shoot, where I don't see the versatility of the Heat being the same way with the versatility of their guards. They don't have the same firepower.
Where I disagree with you there is this, because I think that they primarily are perimeter shooters. It's not that Boston can't be that, but if you watch Boston, it gets to a point where you literally find a Jayson Tatum one-on-one, a Kemba Walker one-on-one. You might kick it out to a Jaylen Brown, but that's about it. And then when they go,
Boston is a very small team. Milwaukee is a big team. Milwaukee's going to kill them on the rebounding side of the ball. Milwaukee's going to out-rebound that team. This is why, like I said, Boston can adjust, Boston can execute. But I think that Philadelphia has the size and the talent and the physicality to go at the Bucks. But, I just don't believe in Philadelphia.
Go to their bench, I think it's a huge question mark, because I'm reflecting back on what happened with them last year. Although Kyrie was there instead of Kemba Walker, I'm still looking at their depth against Milwaukee. I don't like it. Whereas with Miami, when these brothers get rolling, I think they're a major, major threat, because they play within themselves and they don't really try to go one-on-one. They just fire away. They move the basketball and they fire away. I'm not saying they'll beat Milwaukee. I'm saying that's the best chance to beat Milwaukee, playing that way. And I don't see Boston playing that way, because they have the weapons that you said that they have that can break you down. And that's the problem.
Matchup-wise, Toronto may be the worst matchup. I think if Simmons is healthy, I don't like that matchup for the Bucks. I think that's a very tough series. But assuming he's not healthy, matchup-wise, it may be Toronto. They still have those good defensive bigs that they can funnel them towards, as you mentioned. But I don't like them because they don't, their best player was Kawhi Leonard. Now it's Siakam. That's a fall-off. But Jay, I think you make an excellent point. The question is, with the Celtics, are they ready? Are the young guys ready? Because, like, when you did matchups in the recent...
Yeah, they ready, right? They only got rid of Terry Rozier, and now Horford. So they got a couple guys that, you know, got to the conference finals in the second round, right? And certain guys that been in the conference finals, rather they got swept against Cleveland, right? They got swept against Cleveland really twice. I don't know if some of those guys that got swept against Cleveland the year Warriors beat them in 2017, but I do know that guys like Marcus Smart was there in 2017. I meant to say 2015. I think that's the year that Cleveland went against them in the first round and Kevin Love got hurt. I think that was 2015. So yeah, I don't know if they got the people from that team, but 2017, I know Marcus Smart was there, right? You got Jayson Tatum, you got Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, I believe, and Marcus Smart was there in 2017. And you got Jayson Tatum. So they got some experience, right? But Milwaukee got some experience too. And Toronto won the championship, so they got confidence. The only team I say they might like experience is the Miami Heat.
Past, just like you did them and said, let's say, take the Warriors and the Cavs, right? And you said, who's the best player in the series? Even if you think it's LeBron, the next 4 were on Golden State. They were going to lose. If you do it like that, the teams in the East.
Well, if you like this video, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and this, that, no nonsense.